All right, let's talk about engineering placements. The pressure, it's intense, right? You've spent all this time grinding LeetCode, you know your data structures inside and out. You walk into that interview feeling like you're ready for anything. But then, the interviewer doesn't ask you to reverse a linked list. Instead, they hit you with something different. Our app crashes every Monday morning. What would you do? Just take a second. What's the first thing that pops into your head? If your mind is just scrambling, trying to grab onto some specific technical fix, or even worse, if it just goes completely blank, hey, you are not alone. That exact feeling is what holds so many brilliant students back from landing the jobs they totally deserve. Does this one sound familiar? I bet it does. It's that awful, frustrating feeling after an interview. You know the knowledge is in there somewhere, but it feels like there's this massive gap between your brain and your mouth, especially when the pressure is on. Or how about this one? You've seen this kind of problem a dozen times. You've debugged something just like it in your own projects. But right then, in that moment, in that chair, poof, it's just gone. The connection just isn't there when you need it most. And this one right here gets to the absolute core of the issue. A lot of the time, interviewers care way less about you getting the perfect final answer and way more about how you think. They want to see your process. When they ask for your approach, they're asking for a map of your brain. So what is this invisible wall that so many smart students are hitting? I'll tell you what it's not. It's not about learning another framework or memorizing more algorithms. It's a completely different kind of skill. And it's probably the most important one that nobody's really teaching. Get ready for this number, 89%. According to research, a staggering 89% of hiring failures have nothing to do with a lack of technical skills. Let that sink in. It's about things like communication, how you problem solve when you're stressed, and just the clarity of your thinking. That is a massive gap between what we practice and what actually determines success. And that brings us to the hero of our story today, structured thinking. Think of it exactly like this. It's the bridge. On one side, you have all your amazing technical knowledge. On the other side is your ability to calmly and clearly explain it. Structured thinking is the bridge that connects the two, especially when the pressure is on. It's the system that lets you organize your thoughts on the fly and sound like the brilliant engineer you are. For way too long, this has been the missing piece of the puzzle for so many people. But that stops right now. In this explainer, we're going to give you the exact toolkit you need to build this skill from the ground up. We are going to walk through 5 incredibly powerful mental models. And these aren't just some abstract theories, okay? These are practical, real-world tools used by everyone from top engineers at Toyota to consultants at McKinsey to, yes, innovators like Elon Musk. So let's open up your new toolkit. First up, the 5 whys. This is your tool for digging deeper and not just settling for the surface-level answer. Let's go back to that app crash. Why did it crash? Okay, server overload. But don't stop there. Why was the server overloaded? Too many database queries. Why so many queries? Well, an incorrect background job was running. Why was that job incorrect? Nobody reviewed the configuration. And the final, most important why. Why was there no review? Because there was no deployment checklist. And bam, there it is. The root problem wasn't a server, it was a broken process. See how powerful that is? Okay, tool number 2, the pyramid principle. And just look at the contrast here. It's night and day, right? The unstructured answer on the left, that's how most of us talk. It's a chronological story, a total brain dump. It forces the interviewer to follow along and try to find the point. But the structured answer on the right, it's so much more powerful. You lead with the conclusion, the answer first. Then you provide the evidence. It's confident, it's clear, and it makes you sound like a leader. Next up is a funny-sounding one, MECE. It stands for Mutually Exclusive, Collectively Exhaustive. But all that really means is breaking a big, messy problem into clean, separate buckets. Instead of just randomly guessing why the Wi-Fi is slow, you create categories. Is it a source problem, like the internet provider? Is it an infrastructure problem, like the router? Or is it a demand problem, like too many people streaming at once? This structure turns chaos into a clear, methodical plan of attack. Our 4th tool, First Principles Thinking, is a total game changer. It's about breaking a problem down to its most basic, fundamental truths. Elon Musk is famous for this. He didn't just accept that rockets were crazy expensive. He asked, what are they actually made of? Aluminum, copper, and found that the raw materials cost only about 2% of the final price. That single insight built SpaceX. For you, it means solving problems from the ground up, not just by remembering a solution you saw before. And finally, the tool that brings everything together when you're actually in the hot seat. The 4-step response. First, and this is the hardest part, I promise, pause. 2 or 3 seconds of silence feels like an eternity to you, but to the interviewer, it signals pure confidence. Second, frame your answer. Tell them how you're going to tackle it. Third, structure your thoughts out loud using magic words like first, second, third. And finally, land the plane with a clear, concise summary. Okay, so you have the tools. You've got the toolkit. But here's the thing. Just knowing about a hammer doesn't make you a carpenter, right? The only way any of this stuff is useful is if it becomes second nature, an automatic habit. And that's going to take some practice. Seriously, these frameworks are totally useless if they just live in a notebook somewhere. They have to become a mental muscle. And we're not talking about hours of cramming. All you need is about 15 minutes a day. That's it. A tiny investment for a skill that will literally change your career. So here's the game plan. It's super simple. In the morning, maybe while your coffee's brewing, take 5 minutes and run a 5 whys drill on any small problem from the day before. During your classes, you're not adding extra time. You're just listening differently. Try to mentally put what your professor is saying into MECE buckets. Then at night, 5 more minutes. Take one idea you learned and explain it to yourself using the pyramid principle. It's easy, it's manageable, and it's incredibly powerful. And this is where the magic really happens. The compound effect. I'm not gonna lie, the first week, it's gonna feel a little clunky, a little unnatural, but just stick with it. Because by the end of the first month, your friends are gonna start noticing. They'll say, wow, you're really good at explaining things. And by month 3, it's not even something you do anymore. It's just how you think. It becomes your brain's new default operating system. Okay, theory is great, but action is what creates change. So we're gonna make this as easy as possible to get started. No excuses. You can start building this skill the moment this explainer is over. Here is your first rep, your first exercise tonight. Before you go to bed, just pick one small, tiny problem from your day. A bug in your code that took too long, a simple misunderstanding with a friend, anything. Grab a piece of paper or open a note on your phone and just ask why 5 times. Drill down until you hit that root cause. That's it. You've officially started. So let's be really clear about this. That 45-minute interview slot, that's not the real test. The real test of your commitment, the real test of whether you're going to change your outcomes, is whether you take that first tiny step tonight. The tools are right here. The path is laid out for you. The only question left is, are you ready?